Sunday, everybody, and welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Scott Fontana. Follow me on Twitter at Scott_Fontana.
And I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at the Dan Urban. Follow the podcast at Couchside Judges, and subscribe to us wherever you listen.
And if you like this show, this is a great time to give us that 5-star review.
And as always, we talk judging and MMA, so head on over to abcboxing.com and read the scoring criteria.
You know, it is worth pointing out, obviously we plug the scoring criteria every episode, but it's worth pointing out a conversation we were having with Dan Tom.
Correct, yeah.
Earlier this week, yeah, we were trying, and he asked a good question. It was where he could find the most up-to-date version of the scoring criteria, more or less. And it is not easy to locate.
No, it isn't.
Not at all. The one that we reference at ABC Boxing is the one that they passed in 2016, which is largely the same document now, but they've made mild changes over time, if I understand correctly. And that's not easy to find. I am going to make a point to reach out to ABC President Mike Mazzulli, see if maybe they can get on maybe fixing that, making that a little more available to everybody, so that when we tell everybody, hey, go read the criteria, they're at least reading the most up-to-date version of said criteria.
Maybe when we get that, maybe we include a link in our episode descriptions.
We could.
Or put on our link tree. That would probably be smart of us to do that.
No. I don't know anything. That's your department, actually,
yeah,
sir.
Okay, I just thought of it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have those. But, sir, more importantly, well, I don't know if this is more importantly, but is this our 200th episode?
200 episodes. Had to give it.
I think it deserves it. I think it deserves the Couchside override horn.
You know what's funny about 200 episodes is I came across a Reddit post. Someone asking, "Oh, how do you make money podcasting?" And someone said, "Well, the shows that actually do make decent money all have at least 200 episodes."
Yeah. So
we're in some company there.
That's true. We do make decent money.
Yeah, we don't make any money.
Oh no,
yeah.
I make a lot of money, but it's from my New York Post job.
Oh, okay.
And you make a lot of money working for the police.
No.
Well, I don't make. Okay. When I say a lot, I don't mean that for either of us, but I mean, it's money. The money that allows us to do the things we want to do. But yeah, 200 episodes, sir. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to us. I think it's
congrats to the listeners.
Yeah, hey, especially the ones who've been with us for a very long time. Thank you so much for sticking with us. We obviously something like this starts very small. It's very niche. We didn't have a very large following in the early days of the show. We do have a larger following now. And we are so grateful for those who listen, who spread the word, who have told us that they enjoy the show, that they appreciate what we do, that they find us to be an interesting program. We've gotten some shout-outs from media colleagues and respect from, officials, regulators, so many different people, and it means a lot. Really, your kind words, your listenership, it all means a lot. So thank you very much, dear listener.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well said, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, you know what? Let's move into the real stuff here, because as Jay Petrie of Sherdog pointed out, how appropriate is it that we made it to 200 episodes, and for the 200th episode, there are no decisions in the UFC to talk about. No actual decisions.
It's amazing. It's all I've been asking for since we started this show.
And Dan, why don't you tell everybody how you set up the outline today?
I set up I wish I took a screenshot of it, because I would have posted it. I sent Scott the outline at noon, and it was just our typical starters. And under contested rounds, I said, no contested rounds. We finally did it. And then under finishes, I put, at this time, there was still 11 fights on the card. I put 11 finishes all first round. We got 10 fights, all 10 finishes. I'm pretty much Nostradamus, so.
Yeah, and again, Jay called you a Danstradamus, I believe? Yes,
I'll take that as well.
That is, it's funny. I mean, who would have thought, right? 10 for 10. It lines up with this particular episode of the show. That is very
what's
funny.
crazy, though? Aaron Bronstetter pointed out, this has really nothing to do with anything, but a $10 parlay only paid $3,800 for all fights to end before the scorecards, which seems low to me.
How much money does it pay out? What did you say? $10?
$10 pays out $3,800.
Okay.
Seems low.
I guess.
Yeah, it is low.
I don't know.
Anyway, neither here nor there. So I was kind of getting at maybe that there was some mismatches here, and
Well, I
perhaps
mean
so.
that, you know what, that is a fair point. You know, I I think a lot of people looked at, and the odds I did get to see on the Terrence McKinney versus Eric Gonzalez fight, that was quite a terrible mismatch. I honestly hope Eric Silva, or Eric, I keep saying wanting to say Eric
Gonzalo,
Silva,
yeah.
Eric Gonzalez gets one more shot, the Ghost Pepper, because he's had some really tough matches. It was Jim Miller was his debut, right?
Jim, yeah.
Yeah, and then he goes against Terrence McKinney here, who I think is kind of shooting his way to the moon. I have very high expectations out of this kid. So to be matched up with those two guys, it just doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like we've given this kid a fair shake in the UFC. So I hope he gets that third shot, even at 0-2. But let's talk about some of the bigger stuff on this one, right?
Oh yeah.
Obviously, the finishes were a lot of fun. We'll pick our favorites at the end, as we always do. But let's start with the main event, the fight that I think a lot of people were really down on this card. And honestly, I thought it was unfairly so.
People were down on this card,
I didn't
yeah.
like that because honestly, I mean, look, it's top heavy. It absolutely was top heavy coming in. You know, Jamahal Hill against Thiago Santos and Vicente Luque against Jeff Neal. I think those two people agreed were actually going to be pretty interesting fights. It was beyond that. Everyone was kind of like, gee, I don't know.
Well, that's because probably no one watched Tough. If you watched Tough, you had some investment in the other two, the two finales.
But nobody watches Tough except you.
Right. Well, other people did. And then Terrence McKinney did make it to the main card through a couple fallouts, which is kind of weird. Probably should have been there regardless.
He should have been.
And then they
it was
always,
like a set of squash match.
They always throw a slog fest of a heavyweight fight on the main card.
That they do.
So it really wasn't as bad as. There was a lot of interesting things, I thought.
I didn't think it was that. I just didn't think it was that bad. I didn't think it was super great. I thought after those first two fights, it was like, okay, whatever.
I mean, it felt like UFC on Fuel TV a little bit.
I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Sure.
Or a Wednesday night FX card from years ago. That's what it kind of had a little bit of vibes too.
I don't know. I didn't think it was that bad. We've been presented a lot worse, I think, on paper. Fight nights this particular year. Even I think we've been spoiled lately. It's actually been a lot better. They've raised the quality because they've been traveling, and a lot of the ones that when they've been traveling, they have been better. Because they're trying to sell tickets, and it's a little different, right? No, I thought honestly this was a decent card, and I think I actually had some pretty high expectations out of the main event. I thought it was going to be like a very fascinating, action-packed fight for however long it lasted. I thought it was going to be over probably a little earlier. It ended up obviously going into the fourth round. And it took a little while to kind of get going. Round one was a little tepid, right?
Mm-hmm.
But round two, I think things changed. It definitely became like a solid fight. I don't know that it ever became, a real barn burner necessarily, but I think people were into this fight. I think we enjoyed it on the whole.
Yeah, it was a fun fight. I think I expected it to be a little cleaner than it was.
Well, yeah, Santos obviously he started running out of gas.
Yeah, he got quite tired.
He's just very muscular. I think is part of the problem with him. And then Jamahal Hill, like he seemed really tired. I think he hadn't really been pushed in a fight like that.
He hurt his arm again in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
It was what he was telling in the post fight.
Was that okay? I missed that.
So I don't know how much that plays a factor.
Sure, but no, I mean now that Jamahal Hill has this win here, and this is a big win for him. It's over a name, someone who's actually fought for the title.
And it's a finish.
And it's a finish of Thiago Santos. Maheta is a tough guy. I mean, I don't know that he necessarily had Jamahal Hill like in real trouble at any point, but there was ill intentions on a lot of those strikes that just didn't
heavy
connect.
Shots landed.
They just didn't connect, and if they did, who knows?
The round he got finished in fourth, some of those shots were pretty heavy.
Oh yeah, and he puts his whole body into it and everything. Granted, he's probably telegraphing it a bit, so it's were they going to land? No, they probably really weren't. But nonetheless, the danger is there. But we know Jamahal Hill hits hard. He can weather the storm, so to speak. 'Cause again, I don't think the storm was crazy, but it was a tougher fight. I think there was a good respect, I think, from Hill too, because I actually kind of expected Jamahal Hill to kind of walk him down a bit. Santos, I just thought he was going to have no respect because he's so confident, but no, he definitely felt it out a lot more early and was like, okay, let's see how this goes. And there was clear respect for what Santos brings to the table.
Yeah, he landed some good leg kicks early too.
Yeah.
Could have changed things.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, he wrestled a lot.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he was mixing in those takedowns, which we don't really see from him too often. gave him some different looks, right? Yeah, I thought this was a solid fight. But the question I have for you, sir, is how close does this now get Jamahal Hill to a title fight?
Do him and Jan. Title eliminator, and that's where it is.
Jan Blachowicz?
Yep. Because I want to see Glover and Yuri go again.
But let's think this out, right? Because we have to think it out, right? What do you do with Magomed Ankalaev?
I don't know.
He's hard to just ignore, right?
You can't
ignore him. I feel like probably a good way to do it is to actually have Ankalaev and Jamahal Hill.
I'll do that fight.
I think that one makes a lot of sense.
Does Rakic play?
Rakic is still out of play because he's hurt.
Oh, that's
right.
He's hurt. He's injured.
That's the real problem there. That's what complicates everything. Because otherwise, you could say, oh, maybe even Jamahal Hill against Rakic could even make some sense.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't really do that one right now. So somebody's going to be kind of waiting around. Obviously, I mean, everyone's kind of on hold while we figure out. First off, there's not even an actual fight announced, but I think everybody is assuming that it's what Yuri has been saying, that he would like to fight Glover Teixeira in a rematch, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, they obviously have a headliner now for the Garden. It's Adesanya against Alex Pereira. Would you pay money to go see that one in live?
Yeah, I'm going to
you're going?
I'm going to that one. Oh, well, money, depending.
Right.
But, yeah.
I get you. Yeah, that's obviously a good fight. I think probably that would be what I would like to see. But the point being, I think Jamahal Hill, realistically, because he produces interesting fights too, I think that helps his case in getting a little closer. It just does. That's the way the UFC does things, whether it's fair or not. It's just the reality. And if he goes out there and he wins another interesting fight, he could easily leapfrog somebody depending on who he beats, you know?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know where he is in terms of readiness for that title fight. I don't. Because this obviously this was a tough fight. This is his first one. That was really tough against a really tough opponent. So I would like to see how he grows from this one. But I think I've probably said this on probably for 200 episodes thereabouts that I've been saying I think Jamahal Hill is on a championship track.
Well, he's there. He's got to be top 5 now. Anthony Smith's going to get bumped out of there. You would think. You
would think it could, but the UFC ranking panel is nothing to write home about. So let's not put a whole lot of stake in them actually getting anything correct. Realistically, it doesn't matter. I'll tell you what rankings I like. Media-driven rankings I like is the ones that they do at MMA Fighting.
Okay,
they do good ones. I actually really like their panel there.
I didn't even know they had one. So
yeah, they started it earlier this year, and I think they do it monthly.
Okay.
But they do, yeah. I think they do a nice job. You should check those out. But that, as far as that goes, I mean, obviously Thiago Santos, we're not going to see him in the title picture anymore. I think probably those days are done. He's now lost 5 out of 6.
Yeah,
it's a tough. He said the other day when I talked to him that he definitely wants to fight maximum of 4 more years. He doesn't want to fight longer than that. Like he doesn't want to be in his mid-40s kind of fighting.
Gotcha.
So, it's really probably up to him but he's been fighting, like, everybody he's losing to is realistically people that I think we all consider to be top 5-ish talent,
Oh, yeah. He had Glover he lost to, and he rocked Glover, which tends to happen to Glover often, and then Glover comes back and wins.
If he was to have won this fight over Jamahal Hill, literally any other fight that would make sense for him would be a rematch with guys ahead of him in the rankings. He's fought everyone else in the rankings except for the champion. And he beat a couple of them. He beat Blachowicz. He beat Anthony Smith.
Yeah.
So, no, but I would like to see how he does in, let's say, maybe a step down in competition. I think that's what's appropriate for him at this stage. I don't think he can hang with that group anymore, typically. So I feel like he can still produce some fun fights. Just match him up well. Don't put him in there with guys that are not gonna, they're gonna kind of plod and that kind of thing. I think we saw some kind of boring matchups the last few fights with him because there was SBG's Johnny Walker was very boring. Rakic and Ankalaev, they don't always produce the most interesting of fights. Put him in there with someone who's gonna engage. That's I think
Krylov,
you really want.
maybe.
Krylov would be fun. I think that'd be an interesting fight. Sure. Although we've also seen some like that come from him too. So,
Paul Craig,
always. Always put the skull in there. Aye, laddie. Luque, he lost in the co-headliner. Jeff Neal looked really good.
Jeff Neal looked the best he's ever looked.
Yeah, I think looks like he's finally ready to take another step in his development. But also by the same token, Vicente Luque, I mean, he didn't look right.
I think think his chin is starting to fail him a little bit.
It does look like that. He's been in a lot of wars. I think they said something on the broadcast that he has been favored in every fight in the UFC, which is absolutely a ludicrous stat. Like, even early in his career, like, that's wild. Because he didn't have, like, a super impressive record when he got to the UFC either.
No, the thing is, he always took super tough fights, though. He probably had one of the toughest roads.
And yet he was still favored in all of these.
Mm-hmm.
You know? No, he had a hard road. Unfortunately, he didn't get quite to the top. I think he's one of those guys that you're not going to think of him the same way you do Tony Ferguson in terms of like guys who just didn't get a title shot. But honestly, I think he reasonably deserves to be in a similar boat. He had a really excellent record, an excellent run. He just didn't quite get to the title shot. But is he done as a contender? I think
Yeah,
gotta think so. Him and Thiago Santos. It feels like that's kind of like
similar.
The sun is not. It's not set on their careers, but it's getting a little low. Getting a little low in the sky. You know what I mean? Which is unfortunate. Because he has produced some amazing fights. I think he still can, but yeah, I think you almost have to do kind of the thing which everyone should have done with Carlos Condit, which was knock him down a little earlier and just put him in some interesting fights.
Okay.
He's still too good to really just play him out against like non-ranked contenders. But I mean, I don't know. Jeff Neal was, I think, 13 coming into this one in the UFC rankings. So I don't know, man. It's tough.
Yeah. So if you say, I mean, Jeff Neal's like, well, I beat 6 on number 6 now. That's how it should be, he says. But does that mean Luque falls to 13?
No,
I don't think
it's not.
so.
That's not typically how it goes. But no, it is unfortunate. I just want to make sure I do shout out the fact that I appreciate what Vicente Luque has done in his career. I think he has had a really excellent career and a fun one
for sure,
a real fun one. I didn't come into this event talking about The Ultimate Fighter. I didn't come in watching the show like you did. Obviously, you've talked about this before, that you watch it. You were interested in these fights to a degree, right?
Yeah.
What do you think of the winners now who we got? Muhammad Usman and Juliana Miller.
Juliana Miller, I thought, was all heart and grit on the show. And tonight she showed that she can be a real force.
Okay.
She was... Like, I'm excited to see where she goes.
I don't know what type of fighter Brogan Walker was.
She had a knee injury most of the show.
Okay.
And she still was able to win.
Okay. She was actually, I think, the only woman who was on the cast that when I saw the cast list, I did recognize her name.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew she had at least had, some semblance of accomplishment before coming onto the show.
Mm-hmm.
So, to see Juliana Miller do that to her, I mean, that means something to me, I guess, at least. But, yeah, she's clearly a prospect.
Yes, definitely a prospect. I think she's got the personality that people are going to love if she starts, putting together some wins and getting some more popularity.
And throwing out more DX crotch chops.
And then hugging after.
You run the gamut.
Yeah, I guess it's an emotional state there.
Yeah, man. You've never been through it, man.
So
neither of us will ever know what it's like to have won a fist fight in front of a ton of people on television.
Yeah, never on television. Yeah,
no,
maybe not on television either.
I mean, I've lost some fights.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever been in anywhere there was actually a winner.
I've got 2 broken cheekbones that say I probably didn't do very well.
Oh,
To be fair, they weren't really fights. They were really more like me standing up for myself against bigger guys and realizing that there's weight classes for a reason.
Yes, that's why they should. I mean, yeah. Did you guys weigh in at 36 hours before the fight?
No, we did not do
okay.
that. There was no scales. In fact, I wasn't necessarily ready for these confrontations either.
All right.
But nonetheless, the other Ultimate Fighter winner, Muhammad Usman, I spoke to him last year when he was on a part of the PFL season. Nice guy. I enjoyed speaking with him. I enjoyed telling a story a little bit. And then he went out in the Ultimate Fighter, in PFL, and he really he didn't look great. I don't know what he looked like on the show, but even tonight, he didn't really look spectacular until he lands that perfect left.
It reminded me of the finishing punch for Griffin and Silva from the one angle. And then you see it at the different angle. Like, that's not really the same thing.
All right. I can't tell you you're wrong, but I didn't see it.
But when I saw it live, I thought, oh, wow, it's similar to Forrest Griffin and Anderson Silva.
But without the funny fall, too.
Yeah, But
oh, my goodness, Forrest Griffin fell.
I don't know about Usman yet. I think some of how I feel stems back to remembering what he did in PFL. Also, I have expectations of hearing how Kamaru speaks of him, that he's just not really living up to that. in my eyes. I think
Mhm.
at heavyweight,
You think Kamaru's setting the bar too high?
I think the way Kamaru speaks of him, and I think he set it very high. I had bigger hopes, I guess.
Okay.
I didn't think he was all that great on his fights on the show, which I guess can happen. You don't have your actual coach and training partners around. So
It's a very different format.
So when he had his team around him this time, I was like, oh, maybe he will do something. First, it's weird with heavyweight because they're just so...
Heavy?
You don't have to be so technically sound at heavyweight to win.
No, you don't. Sometimes you just land that perfect left and it just ends the night.
I don't know what to think yet of him.
And
So-
Poungo was down a long time.
Yeah, he was... I thought he was definitely going to win, Pauga. But like we just mentioned, technique doesn't really matter that much at heavyweight.
It matters less, absolutely.
Okay.
There's a sliding scale, right? It's power versus technique, and they kind of meet in the middle at the middle weights. But then at one extreme, flyweight or heavyweight, they're kind of the max of technique or the minimum technique necessarily. Think of it like a video game, attribute points. You can only give so many out, right?
Yeah, and the thing with Pauga is he's stuck in between where he can't make 205, but he's too small for 265.
Eric Nixick was
really
saying
weird.
he should be at 205. I don't
said
know
he
much about him though. So
He wanted to get to 205, he just couldn't get there.
is that right? Okay.
So he's kind of like just stuck in where he's hoping. Maybe we should add a 225-pound division.
You
That's
know,
what it feels like.
I've honestly felt like it would almost be better if they could go to adding a 195 and getting rid of 205 and then adding a 225 and getting rid of heavyweight.
Okay.
Because realistically, most heavyweights can still make 225 pounds. There's a
Yeah.
few we would lose, obviously the Brock Lesnar's of the world.
And no
But
Brocks.
but there's just we don't really see those guys that much anymore. Like we see them, but they're not really in contention
The thing is,
in the same way anymore.
yeah, well, Francis wouldn't definitely not make 225.
He wouldn't.
Francis Ngannou?
What does he weigh in?
I think he weighs in 260.
Are you sure about that?
I mean, he is massive.
Francis Ngannou. I'm looking this up now because I do want to know what he just weighed. Yeah, I guess it's about 260. But you know what? 35 pounds. It's definitely a lot less for the heavyweights. It's not. I don't advocate for this whatsoever because I hate weight cutting. But shoot, you could see it maybe happening.
I don't see it at all. I think 35 is a massive amount.
Brock Lesnar probably weighed like almost 300 pounds when he came to the cage, dude.
I don't know. Brock's massive.
Yeah.
Like who knows?
I don't know, but I mean, 235. Could we settle on 35? I know that.
Yeah. Well, here's
Obviously, we're in fiction land here, so I can do whatever the heck I want.
You still have to
I think
call it
35
heavyweight,
can
though,
still happen. Yeah, no, it's fine.
because if you don't call it heavyweight, you're gonna lose all the casuals who
Well,
just tune in
obviously.
because they hear the division
I know.
is fighting.
No, I don't disagree. Yeah, but then there's also the general thought that's like, well, why do we even limit heavyweight? Why don't we just let everybody who's 205 plus, kind of like in Pride, go, so that we can have Zuluzinho and all these people, Hong Men Choi.
I still like 205 though. Just add 225 in between 205 and 265.
I mean, again, we're in fantasy land. This whole conversation is kind of pointless, ain't it?
Yeah, but I mean,
But it's fun. Hopefully, you're listening and enjoy it.
We don't have much to talk about, so we got extra things we can add.
You know what? No, we're done. We're done adding. We gotta respect our listeners' time, sir.
I want to add one more thing officiating related that we didn't add to.
Oh, do you want to do that now?
Yes.
Yeah, go for it, sir. I know what you mean.
Polling the judges.
Polling the judges. Yes, good call, sir. This obviously happened in the first fight of the night. Mayra Bueno Silva got an armbar on Stephanie Egger.
Yes.
Egger taps out in, I guess, a way that pretty much in a location that no cameras caught and that literally only Judge Ron McCarthy was in position to see, basically.
Yeah, and supposedly Herb Dean as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ron McCarthy, front row view, right against the cage.
Easily the best view.
Yep.
It's probably 2 feet away from his face. Like, there's no possible way. Hey, this is why the judges are seated cage side, sirs and madams.
Mm-hmm. That's another. They should. Yeah, why don't send them in the back room?
They wouldn't be able to help out.
Yeah.
No one would know what that happened.
What do we do here?
No, obviously, like you're reading a lot of things about, and we'll get to the polling the judges in a moment. But like you're reading a lot of things in the moments after this happens, right? She gets the tap, she lets go. Bueno Silva lets go. Does the same thing that Amanda Lemos did a few weeks ago, which I also said, what are you guys doing? You got to just keep going until the ref says no. And this is another reason why. But rather than have a situation where Egger does what Michelle Waterson did a few weeks ago, where she said, yeah, I did it. She's kind of sitting there like, I'm going to ride this out.
Yeah.
But like the fact that she's not protesting is essentially an admission to me. So I'm just sitting here like, she must have tapped. So, like we'll get the answer in a moment.
The fact she just stops fighting.
She just stops fighting.
Like,
She's not arguing. She's just kind of standing there like,
like if
I know I lost.
if
but
Bueno Silva lets go and Erica just turns into her and starts dropping punches, now we got a situation.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do?
So now they poll the judges, which is something that we...
Well, he did replay first.
Right.
Obviously, no angle we can see. I mean, she's right against the cage and in such a dark spot. There's no camera angle.
You sort of saw, like, when you know what you're looking for, you almost see a little bit of Egger's arm moving, but that could be anything. Like, that doesn't mean she's tapping, but, like, when we know that she is tapping, you can look at that and be like, that's her arm tapping, you know? But that's not enough, right? So, yeah, then they go to polling the judges, which is a tool at their disposal. Not one that is directly in the rule books, but as actually it was pointed out by Aaron Bronstetter, I got to give him the shout out for finding, I think it was a video from Herb Dean. I didn't get to watch the clip, but Herb, I guess, explaining that, and I really should have watched the clip, but man, I just couldn't keep up with all these things. Right? Go find Aaron Bronster's tweet about the clip. Right?
I saw another Herb Dean clip this week.
But what I believe the point of it was to say is that it was more of a what is the term, general practice or
past practice.
Is that right?
That's what they said that word a lot.
That doesn't sound right.
Yes, past practice.
All right, fine. I'll go with it, but it doesn't sound right what I remember. But anyway, nonetheless, it's kind of like one of those like unofficial things. But we were taught this very distinctly in our referee course taught by Blake Grice. He explained polling the judges.
Mm-hmm.
As a tool that, hey, if you missed it, you can go to, and they are other officials. Judges are officials, so it's not like you're asking a fan in the crowd like, yo, do you think he tapped? Like these are the guys who are supposed to be there to evaluate things too. So
yeah, and I saw a lot of we got no clear view of it, blah blah blah, and then it's like, well, the official cage side sitting right there said so I'm going to take his word for it that she tapped.
Yeah,
and I don't need to see the video.
I think, and that's that is up to the sole arbiter in the cage, the referee, to then defer, right?
He told the one he said absolutely 100% he saw a tap.
That's right.
So I would trust him if I was in the cage. So
sure, and it's a practice that is taught to these officials. So if it's one thing if it's not codified, I guess some people would probably look for it to be codified, but. And look, I don't disagree. I think all of these things really ought to just be in the rules. We shouldn't be asking questions like this. Like if it's something that's taught, especially, put it in the rules.
Yeah, I guess I get what you're saying, but still, the sport's like still 30 years old.
Yeah,
that's it. Like so.
But you know what?
There's going to be a lot of stuff that they've never seen before in the past 30 years.
But also, this is a rule. So I mean, it's not a rule, like we said, but like it's something that they're taught to do. So it's not like it's surprising to them. Put it in the rules.
Right, I know, but maybe it's something that just doesn't jump off the top of their head. Like they should need to put it in the rule book this week, or else maybe they'll forget about it.
Man,
in coming week.
That's up to the rules committee. That's Andy Foster should be putting that in when he comes up to ABC next year. He ought to be like, listen, guys, we're gonna vote on this rule here. We're gonna put in polling the judges so that no one can be like, well, why isn't it in the rule book?
And then what happens when it gets shot down? That'd be crazy.
I don't think it would. Having been in that room, I feel like that's one that no one would really argue against because it's not related to fighter safety.
Okay.
Because the only reason anybody made any arguments about the neoprene sleeve rule that ended up passing, which had the only thing it had to do with was color of neoprene sleeve that was allowed to be worn on ankles or knees. And it became this conversation about like, well, why are we allowing them at all? And it's like, well, that's not what we're talking about, guys. You already have it. It's already on the books. So it's always going to be some really stupid conversation. But nonetheless, so everybody got exposed to polling the judges. We had known what it was. Probably if we hadn't gone to ABC 2 weeks ago, we would have been like, what are they talking about polling the judges? Because I don't think I had heard that before we went to training.
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
So that was fascinating. That was really cool to see. But everything obviously all worked out well. Bueno Silva got her win. and Stephanie Egger was found out to have definitely tapped out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get to our contested rounds because we only have 3.
Just 3.
But I think at least 2 of them I think are actually kind of interesting.
Yes.
Let's start with the main event of the end. Actually, all of them were in the last 3 fights of the night too. So it's like sometimes you get coming to these fights, it's like, oh, we're just talking about the prelims. It's like, no offense to the fighters on the prelims, but typically speaking, they're just not as meaningful fights as the other ones. These are probably the 3 of the 4 most meaningful fights on the card, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Jamahal Hill gets the win over Thiago Santos, round 4, but round 3 is a toss-up. And I'm not surprised in any way that we're talking about this fight or this particular round. So why don't you go over this round and we'll discuss.
Yeah, round 3 was Santos, where he just wanted to wrestle. That's it. Pretty much the entire round, he's trying to get a takedown. He does get him down a few times, keeps him there. Jamahal Hill's trying to get up. He can't get up on some of them. Santos is landing some ground and pound, not all that much of it. A lot of it's spent in a clinch against the cage. Hill's throwing, some, body punches here and there. But I think Santos is imposing his will a bit here in these grappling situations when he does get him down. There's a point where Hill lands like 2 or 3 knees, and they might be good, but from my angle, they don't look to be that effective. They're not getting Santos off him. So from my perspective, I didn't think they were that effective. I'm on Santos 10-9. I could see where maybe you have a different angle. These knees may be very good.
Well, to be fair, I have the exact same angle as you because I'm watching on television.
Mm-hmm.
And so are you.
Yep.
Having said that, and granted, close round. I understand the argument for the grappling, but I actually feel pretty good about scoring this one for Hill, and the reason being because I did score those strikes a little more heavily. There was a couple times where he's landing knees, actually. It's not just even in one sequence. There was a couple clinch scenarios where he's
3.
Yeah, and then there's also kind of these do you remember when he's clinched up against the cage and he's landing these punches kind of underneath?
Those are the punches I didn't really give those too much weight.
I gave them more weight than pitter-patter. I thought they were more than pitter-patter was the thing. First off, these are heavier guys, number 1, who know how to throw punches. And number 2, he's getting a little bit on him. Like, you can tell he's getting just a little bit more on him than just kind of like, yeah, I'm staying busy and knocking you on the head, right?
Yeah, you also can't see where they're landing.
No, that is true. I'll grant you that. But what I can see is Thiago Santos landing almost nothing and not really getting to all that dominant of positions or threatening with submissions. It's not like he's doing a whole lot with his grappling.
He was making Hill not want to be there.
I guess,
so
but
he took him down a bunch of times. Hill's not getting up right away. He's getting up a little bit later. I think he landed one super solid knee that buckled the knee of Hill. I thought that was really good.
Okay. No, I thought that ultimately, and I don't want to ignore grappling, but it really just didn't seem like there's enough happening from the grappling in terms of, effective actions off of it, right? To say, okay, he definitely won that round. And I understand you can see the other argument, right? But I felt better about the strikes landed here being, I would love to have seen just a little bit more out of Thiago Santos, and it would have been much easier to give the round to him, but he didn't quite put together effective offense trying to get to the end of the fight. That's how I saw it.
Yeah, disagree.
Right. Fair enough. Agree to disagree. I have it for Hill. Only Junichiro Kamijo saw it the same way as me. You had it the same as Derek Cleary and Sal D'Amato. Agree to disagree.
All right.
That's it. Round 2. No, not round 2. Fight number 2. Jeff Neal obviously got the win over Vicente Luque in round 3. Round 1, actually, all these rounds are round 1. We're only talking about... Oh, that's not true. Round 3 was the other one. But round 1 in this fight, this was a big round.
Yes.
To the point where we're starting to talk about 10-8. What happens?
Yeah, both guys come out very aggressive, as pretty much expected. Both were landing, and then Neal lands a heavy left hand that hurts Luque. Shocking he didn't go down. He tries to swarm on him. He's landing some big shots, and then Luque backs him off with a shot. And it's like, oh, why is Neal backing off so much? And for a while, Luque's the one stalking, even though he was the one who got hurt pretty badly. And then eventually Neal finds...
I feel like that's just like the way he is, right?
It's like, I'm just going to keep going forward.
That's all he knows.
But eventually Neal hurts Luque again, and then he hurts him again, and then he hurts him for a 4th time. I think this round he has solid damage. I think he has domination. I think he has duration. I think he has all 3 Ds for a 10-8.
Well, not only that, I mean, the conversation that we had with officials since the Amanda Nunes fight with Juliana Pena, I think that really informs my idea of why this should be a 10-8 here, is because, number one, there is distinct damage here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, you can't argue that there's no damage, right? And I do believe there is a clear outclassing on the feet of Vicente Luque here. As much as Luque is still wanting to fight, he is not having his way. It's just not going there. And so I think, number one, you've definitely got damage. And now all you really need is to get that other D that you can say, okay, I think I feel good about this being an 8. Doesn't mean it's a must. Obviously, it's a can consider. It's not a should. It's a can consider. But yeah, you get that second D with dominance, I believe, in terms of outclassing on the feet. So damage and dominance, I'm riding that straight to the 10-8. I feel really good about that one.
Yeah, I like a 10-8 here.
Ron McCarthy did.
Oh, I like Ron.
Yeah. He had a good night.
Ron's a good guy.
He had a good night in Vegas, right? He was polling the
Yeah.
judges. He was saving the day there. He turns out an 8 like we like. And stunningly, at least to me, Mike Bell only gave a 9 because he is statistically the most likely judge to give a 10-8 when no one else who he's seated with and the 3 judges does. So that was surprising.
In our 200 episodes, Mike Bell has been our 10-8 hero.
He is,
So.
absolutely. Eric Colon is actually pretty close there too.
Okay.
Yeah, he's up there. But no one touches Mike Bell, so that's why it's very surprising. But it was him and Doug Crosby who's had this one as just a 9 for Neil. Didn't matter. He took it out of everybody's hands, and actually he won round 2 also, which I thought was really close, and I ended up scoring that one for Luque.
I actually scored it for Luque too.
A lot of people had it kind of
Yeah.
one way or the. It was one of those rounds I think people understood as a close round. Obviously, all the judges.
Yeah.
And there's no reason all 3 judges couldn't have said, "Oh man, close round," and they just had all
And
3
they just
landed
ended up on
the same.
Neil. Yeah.
That happens, you know. Just because all 3 are there, it doesn't mean it's a clear round. It's some people forget that.
Yeah.
But not us criteria nerds.
They love to throw it in your face too.
Don't they?
They love it.
Yeah. Oh my god. But yeah, what does that mean for Ron McCarthy?
Oh,
man?
Couchside override. Thank God we had one.
We got
for
one.
episode 200.
That's right. Had to. Ron will get his prize. It's going cross country.
Yeah. We're going to send it to John first.
I hope it doesn't get long. What?
We'll send it to John to give to him for Christmas.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but I like that though.
That's weird.
It's a better gift.
John McCarthy gets no Couchside overrides. He doesn't officiate anymore, sir.
No, we're not giving it to him. We're giving it to him to give to Ron. I like that better.
Why are we putting it in escrow?
I like that better.
Nah, disagree.
I like it better.
Well, I handle this. You handle putting the link in, and I'll do this.
Okay. All right. Easy enough.
Last round is Muhammad Usman. Again, he got the win in round 2 knockout over Zach Pounga, right?
Pounga. No N.
But they kept saying on the broadcast.
Yeah, I think he's wrong on that.
Well, you know what?
Pauga.
I believe you. We need John Anik on the case. He is the pronunciation.
I feel John's had a lighter schedule this year.
Good for him.
Yeah.
She should be happy. Get more time with the family. And to do his podcast, of course. Round 1 is what we're talking about here because there is a split round. This I wouldn't call it like a terrible round or anything like that, but it just wasn't like a super fun round, right?
I mean, the first 2 seconds, I thought it was going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Pauga comes out with a nice front kick. I thought it landed pretty decently.
Yeah.
Pauga landed some good jabs and leg kicks. Usman's winging these wild punches, missing a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
But then he does land that one big left that wobbles Pauga a bit, I thought. I thought he definitely wobbled him a little bit.
He probably landed the best strike of the round there.
Yeah, and then he landed another decent one shortly after that. Then for a while, they just stare at each other. It's like, okay, yeah.
And then there's like they're throwing these like kind of feeling out punches and things like that. I had it in my head as I'm watching. I'm like, man, it would be great if somebody who likes to like clip down fights and like post links and they just showed like them staring at each other and then throwing out these like wildly missing strikes and be like, yep, that's MMA, folks.
Yeah, that towards the end of the round, Pauga starts getting a little bit busier. He lands a couple jabs, solid body kick, and Muhammad Usman lands another nice left in the midst of an exchange. At the bell, Pauga lands a solid right. I think Mo probably landed the heavier strikes. I just don't think he landed enough of them to outweigh all the offense that Pauga had. I can see both sides, no issue either way, but I'm on 10-9 Pauga.
Yeah, and one thing that kind of stuck out to me was the fact that they put up that the statistic on the screen late in the round. It was the number of strikes landed. It was what was it like 26 or 27 to like 7 or something like that in favor of Pauga.
That felt off too, but
that felt really off. That's exactly why I'm pointing it out, because it felt very strange when I saw that number. I'm looking now at UFC stats, and they are saying 31-9 Pauga over Usman. I don't know what they're counting. It didn't feel that way, because like a lot of what I think Pauga's landing is not like majorly damaging.
No, I thought he had some good. I thought his body kicks were good.
No, absolutely. But there was a lot of them that probably they're counting.
Yeah, possibly.
That I don't think register very high. Is kind of what it is. So like that number seems kind of a little misleading, even at heavyweight, right? Nonetheless, I did score it for Pauga. But yeah, it felt like a closer round than the numbers would tell you.
Yeah, I think it's one of those rounds.
Yeah.
Who knows?
One of those rounds.
Those
rounds we just described.
You just knows those rounds.
We just described those.
When I say
one
of those rounds, you know what I mean.
Yeah, you know. Y'all know. But that is it for the contested rounds. We only had 10 rounds, period, so they were only split on 3 of them. 2 of them were the winner, 1 with the 8-9, right? That's pretty much in line with statistics. So you find 7 out of 10, 3 out of 4, somewhere in between there is typically how often the judges are in full alignment on a round. So yeah, 7 out of 10 makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah.
Law of averages. Finishes. How many finishes do we have? Did we have 1, 2, or
10?
Oh, there was 10. That's right. 10 for 10. Wild that we had that, right? That's just fantastic. No matter how you slice it, that's fantastic.
Not 10 bonuses.
Not 10 bonuses, unfortunately. There were 3 that got the performance of the night, and then there was the fight of the night in the main event. That is unfortunate. You would have liked to have seen, maybe this would be the one where literally everybody gets a bonus if they won, right?
Yep.
But oh well, didn't go that way. Hey, UFC's got bills to pay, right? They
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sure they're paupers. We've seen the books. What was your favorite finish? There were 7 knockouts or TKOs, 3 subs. 4 of these ended in the first round. What was your favorite?
Corey McKenna with the Von Flu. She has a new version of it. We have the Von Prue, the Von Flu, and now the Mick Flu.
No, I disapprove.
It's I know, because you hate McDonald's.
That's also true, but
it's the Mick Flu.
No, not a fan.
You're crazy if you're not a fan of that. That's amazing.
I like the choke, but I hate the name.
Well, you're insane, to be honest.
I am not insane, sir.
This is okay. You didn't want to anger me today, but now you're kind of angering me.
Oh man,
the Mick Flu is probably the best rendition of this choke to begin with. Second, the way she applied it was fantastic.
I don't disagree. We're talking about names I'm not a big fan of, but I don't want to focus on the name. I want to focus on the
McDonald's.
choke.
That's why you don't like the name.
We went through this.
Yeah, well, that's the reason.
My wife is a Mick.
Go ahead and tell me your stupid favorite finish.
Yeah, my stupid favorite finish is that stupid kick that Brian Battle landed early in the fight against Takashi Sato. Knocks his head off. Was it 44 seconds in? That was an awesome kick. Who doesn't love a head kick finish, right?
It was like pinball.
It kind of was.
He hit his head into the kick.
Boom.
With his fist.
That was really bad. I also want to shout out, because this wasn't even on UFC, so I was at PFL in New York City on Friday, and most of the fights did not deliver. But one in particular most definitely was a super fun 97 seconds, and that was Rob Wilkinson's victory to get to the light heavyweight final over Dylan Monte. And I don't know if you got to watch that, Dan, but it is entirely worth your 2 minutes.
But is it worth the 10 minutes to find it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Go find a clip on... they probably posted like at least some highlights on Twitter. Go find that.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun, though. I highly recommend that one. But that is it for finishes. That's it for the past. And we're done looking back on the weekend, right? We got a busy one next weekend, though. We got Bellator. We got PFL. We got UFC. Let's start with PFL, actually, because that is the Friday. There's 2 fights on Friday, them and Bellator, but they are in Wales, so it's actually a daytime show, if I understand correctly.
How daytime?
Well, when they go to England, when do they put it on?
I don't know.
When they were in London, they were done. But they were done by midday. Like 5 o'clock was the end.
Okay.
It'd probably be done earlier than that.
All right.
So midday.
Okay.
Watch it at work.
Nah.
No, I don't watch it at work. But anyway, PFL, they have their welterweight semifinals. They have their heavyweight semifinals. I think the marquee name here is, of course, Rory McDonald. At welterweight, he's going against Magomed Umalatov. Sadabusi. I'm always gonna say his name wrong. I keep transposing the B's and D's. Going against Carlos Leal. He was the one who came in and beat Ray Cooper Jr. or Ray Cooper III, excuse me, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And he was like technically an alternate, even coming into the second one. He wouldn't necessarily have made it, but somehow he still was able to qualify, and here he is now. So he's an interesting case.
Okay.
You don't give a darn about this.
I just don't. I have no interest.
You like PFL, though.
I like Rory.
You like PFL.
Yeah, you know what? I stopped. I mean, I really thought they'd come around on elbows by now.
Well, no, they definitely won't. Which is stupid, but
yeah.
especially when they should put it in the final. Once you get to the final, it should be a different ball game, but it's not. And it's stupid. That I completely am with you. But
I think it can be gamed.
What do you mean? You think it can be gamed?
The point system.
In terms of what?
Just making sure you get to the next fight. Make sure you have 2 fights.
But don't worry about that anymore, because now we're in the finals or the semifinals.
Yeah, I guess.
Now it's just about winning.
Yeah, but the semifinals, you don't want to be injured for the finals.
What mixed martial arts do you like other than UFC?
I like some Bellator fights. But I thought we agreed.
Regular listeners of our show for these last 200 episodes, you know that Dan does not like Bellator.
I don't like it as a whole because they don't make me care about it.
But you like some fights.
Some fights.
Okay.
Some fights that interest me. Yeah, I love the Grand Prix.
Okay.
They don't ban elbows.
Yeah, and then their Grand Prix take forever.
I thought we agreed that PFL were now exhibitions because there's no elbows.
Who was saying that? Was that you or was that somewhere else?
I thought that was Matt Wells. I'm not positive.
I don't remember. If it was Matt, credit to Matt. For some reason, that almost sticks out in my head as something that would have been like Caposa.
No, it was on the show.
It was on the show?
Yeah,
okay. All right. Then it was almost definitely Matt. So shout out to Matt. If that was the case. But yeah, it shows what I remember. But no, I mean, honestly, I think it's interesting. Obviously, the fights over the weekend, or at least on Friday, I didn't think were particularly great. I didn't think they were awful, but I guess probably the one between Omari Akhmedov and oh goodness, it's even escaping me. It doesn't matter. Everything from Friday has washed out of my brain. It's 2:00 in the morning, almost 3 a.m. But the heavyweights too. Yeah, I get it. Of the PFL playoff events, this is definitely the one that is, I think, the least attractive because the heavyweights are not particularly interesting here. They don't even have Bruno Capolosa because he got injured. Now he's out of the playoffs. He was the champion last year. Yeah, we're left with Ante Delia going against Henan Fajeda and Dennis Goltsov against Mateusz Scheffel. I do like Goltsov to come out of this whole thing, so I'm interested to see what comes out of that. But it is heavyweight MMA, so...
All right. I don't recognize a single name here, so...
Well, Delia was part of last season. Henan Fajeda was the one that had that fight, the weird fight that was like, it was ruled a submission or a TKO win over Fabricio Verdum.
Oh, he fake tapped.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was all that crap.
I got you.
So you remember him.
Yeah.
This is, of course, in Wales, which is on the British Isle. I expect that we would probably see some top judges from over there. I don't know, but because I have no idea how much PFL even cares about doing that, but I would hope that we get the likes of, Ben Cartledge and David Leatherby.
Well, they would be under IMMAF, right?
I don't know.
Under IMMAF?
I'm not sure how they, well, I mean, they sort of, they don't really have a commission in England, but they do have the EMMA. I believe it's that. That's
okay.
I always get it mixed up. What's the acronym is for it? But yeah, there's the English collective, I guess. That's kind of getting things done now. They're the ones who do the meetings every month, the officials meetings that I keep getting invited to, and I wish I could sit in on. I can't because I can never do it at the right time, and I feel terrible. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna make time one day, but. Yeah, I expect to. Hopefully, we'll have some real quality judging there, just like I think we did in New York. I think we had a really good team in New York that, at least you trust that they're going to make sure that the person who has their hand raised is going to be the right person.
Who was there? I didn't even.
Who was in New York?
Yeah.
Let's see. Chris Lee was there. Eric Colon, Marcel Varela, Dave Torelli.
Solid group.
Doug Crosby was there, and then he flew out to Vegas.
Okay.
He did the overnight.
Solid group there.
Yeah, no, I thought everything went pretty fine. I mean, there was a split decision that people moaned about, but I didn't have a strong feeling about. And also, I couldn't score because I was so far from the cage and looking at scaffolding and crane cameras and stuff like that. Look, I'm not going to be a snob about like where media needs to be sitting there. Like it's best if we do. It's kind of practice, but like I get it. Like they see themselves as a television product, so they don't really care that much about that, right? That's kind of how I interpret it anyway. I do feel very bad for the photographers who apply for media credentials and then they show up and they're not granted the access that they think they were going to get action shots, and they barely can get anything. It's almost like a waste of time for those people. So that's who I feel for.
They have a smart cage for that.
It doesn't work that way. I was joking about that with a photographer, actually. But yeah, that's it for PFL. And then in the evening, Bellator 284 is in South Dakota. The headliner is Neiman Gracie against Goiti Yamauchi.
I like Neiman Gracie.
I know you do. You had that on the initial outline. You like him. 170 pounds. I'm interested in Yamauchi is also interesting to watch. I think this has potential to be a pretty solid fight.
All right.
And we don't really get a whole lot of Bellator main events that aren't just 50-45s these days. I think this one actually won't be.
This is going to be a 5-rounder.
They're all 5. Yeah, they do 5-round main events now.
They just it's recent though.
This year they started doing that. Correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't think this will just be one of those one-sided affairs like they've unfortunately had the terrible luck of having this year. Is just like it's like save for a couple. They've just had some real terrible luck with entertaining main events. I think this one will actually pull through, but the rest of the card, dude, no disrespect, there's just not one other fight on this card that I'm actually interested in watching like that much. I'm really not. I hate to say it.
That's fine. I don't even know what the other fights are.
I know you don't. I know you don't care.
I know the thing is though, if I got nothing going on Friday night, I might turn it on. But also, I mean, I think Bo Nickel is fighting on Contender Series. That's kind of major.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So
on Tuesday,
that might be one that people should probably watch. If you're going to watch any Contender Series, watch Bo Nickel because he's going to be a name, I think.
That's true. I don't watch Contender Series as a rule, but like I also will tune in for certain fights, so I'll probably turn it on for that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one to watch for a guy who probably going to be something. So,
all right. Well, we'll see about that. I'm never one to buy into the hype too early.
Okay, that's fair.
UFC though obviously closes out the weekend because we're still not at the end of this run of UFCs. We're getting close. After 278 the following weekend, we actually get like a break.
Yeah,
blessedly.
A little bit
from
of
UFC.
Yeah.
And that is just so terribly welcome. But anyway, they are in San Diego. Or is it San Diego? Which, of course, is German for, well, I like Anchorman.
Anchorman's great.
It's a good movie.
I like 2 as well. I think it's very underrated.
I actually like that one, too. But I think I'm also going to really like this main event between Marlon Chito Vera and Dominic Cruz.
Yeah.
That's a good main event. That's a solid tune into that one main event.
That's one, yeah. That's one where you think, Chito's got great leg kicks. Is he going to see that tape from Henry Cejudo really shutting down Cruz's movement with these low kicks and use them? And I'm more wondering how Cruz is going to combat that because he's probably thinking that.
Yeah, Cheetah's an interesting. I think he's an interesting matchup for Cruz here. I think it's actually going to be a real tough challenge for him at this stage in his career. But I'm not writing him off, but it's definitely a tough fight. So I'm very, very curious to see where this goes. If Cruz wins, I mean, shoot, you can do a lot of things with Dominic Cruz. You can put him back into the mix there, But if he loses, and I'm not rooting for this to happen in this sequence of events, but look, I wouldn't be terribly mad if they somehow found a way to put Dominic Cruz against Frankie Edgar in the finale fight at Madison Square Garden for Frankie.
That'd be pretty cool.
Because, oh my God, like seriously, to have the lightweight champion from 11 years ago going against the bantamweight champion from 11 years ago, I just think that's fascinating. Like, how do we not let that happen? Like, how can we go without that happening? So I want that to happen. I wish it could happen regardless of what happens with Dominic Cruz, but I don't think he's going to want to take that fight if he loses or if he wins. But if he loses, maybe they'll make it worth his while and he'd do it. I don't know. That's what I'm hoping for, but we'll see. This is in California, of course. San Diego is a city in California.
Yes, that is.
I expect that we'll have some really quality judges there. And I expect there will probably be some pretty decent judges out in South Dakota as well.
Yeah.
I think Bellator tends to find ways to bring in quality judges from around the country to go to their shows, even when they're in kind of remote locations like South Dakota, for example. So yeah, I'm confident in the judging on the whole, wherever they are this weekend. Hopefully, I'm right. Are you looking forward to other fights on this UFC?
Yeah, I think David Onama and Nate Landwehr's going to be...
Well, Nate Landwehr's a maniac, yeah.
That's going to be awesome.
That is going to be a lot of fun. I like that one.
What about you?
I listed this because...
I got to hear the reason. I got to hear it.
Angela Hill against Lupita Godinez. And the reason I put this is because these two women are the most likely to step up and take short notice fights all the time, and they're actually fighting each other. And not only that, I was pretty sure I saw this fight announced or at least it was reported that it was going to take place in October, and now it's in August. So it's almost like their fight is short notice.
All right. I got nothing.
You like Lupita Godinez.
I like them both as people. I mean, I don't.
But she takes all these short notice fights, man. She earned your respect.
I thought when I saw this, I thought you were just putting on there just because you saw Angela Hill.
No.
And I'm glad that's not the case because she's BJ Penn without the BJ Penn accolades. It's like if BJ Penn was never BJ Penn and then he just losing all these fights at the end of the career. That's what I get here.
You talking about Angela Hill?
Yeah, and I just don't.
Angela Hill's just always in these split decisions. Because,
and I know, and we got to talk about him.
I know, and I expect we'll talk about this fight too.
Most likely, yeah.
I'm more interested though in Ode Osborne against Tyson Nam. I like both of these guys at 125 pounds, and the fact that they're going against each other, I think it's going to be some real interesting fireworks.
That should be
here.
good. Yeah,
I think it's going to be a really, really good flyweight fight.
So yeah,
that one I like too.
Delivers.
I don't know that it's gonna be like on paper. It's not the most attractive card. I think on the whole, like there's interesting fights here and there, of course, but I think it has kind of a similar vibe to the one we just saw, which was like, yeah, maybe it doesn't look super great on paper, but ultimately it probably is going to deliver.
Listen, whoever's listening, if you're fighting at UFC San Diego, try to beat what they did. All first round finishes.
So yeah. That would be tough.
Yeah. Gerald Meerschaert's on the card too. So
I believe the last time that they were in San Diego, by the way, the UFC was 12 years ago when I was there.
Oh wow, that's a long time.
The anniversary of which just passed, and that was John Jones just blasting the janitor Vladimir Matyushenko with those devastating elbows, which I still picture them in my head.
Those were filthy.
They were disgusting. They were wonderful. All at the same time. That was an awesome card, by the way. Like when you look at the names on there, John Jones was in the headliner, right? Young John Jones, still not champion yet. On the prelims, Charles Oliveira made his debut, won by triangle, or it was either triangle or guillotine. I always mix up in my head which one it actually was.
What was it? What was the fight?
Oh, Charles Oliveira against Darren Elkins.
Okay.
The Damage.
I want to say that was triangle choke.
Okay.
Not 100%.
It was very quick. He got the bonus that day. That was his first of what would end up being a record number of submissions on his way to becoming the lightweight champion someday. And goodness, I mean, he's carving quite a path now.
Yeah. Oh, and real quick, speaking of champions,
yeah,
the lightweight champion of CFFC is making his UFC debut in San Diego, Damone Blackshear.
So, oh, okay, yeah, you do love CFFC.
So
that is probably your number 2 favorite promotion, correct?
Honestly, yeah.
It has to be.
Yeah, especially yeah. Just because
you've been to their shows, that helps.
I'm not gonna get into it. I don't know if Bellator still has their fighters selling tickets on the undercard.
I doubt they do that anymore because now they don't really use local fighters much anymore.
All right, so that's a good thing.
I mean, I don't know that, but I haven't heard about that. And the prelim quality has improved significantly. It seems like people that fight on their prelims are now on the roster, as opposed to, like I said, they'll kind of take fighters from like local promotions and they'll just put them on there.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't think they really do that anymore.
Okay.
Hopefully not. I hope that's the case. But sir, this was the end of our 200th episode.
End of 200.
Should we do 200 more?
Yeah. Why
Let's
not?
do 200 more tomorrow. Let's record them all in sequence.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Just predict what's going to happen.
I'm pretty tired. We should probably start now.
No.
Or else it's not going to happen.
Nah, let's cut it off. I think we're done.
And that does it for this 200th episode of the Couchside Judges. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back again next week to break down everything from anything interesting from this weekend, I suppose.
Yeah, thank you guys again. your listenership is so appreciated. We really appreciate you, and spread the word. Help us. Thank you very much, and enjoy the week.
Have a good night, everyone.